Diddy's ex wrapped up her testimony today after 4 grueling days on the stand.
She might have a lawsuit too.
Singer Dawn Richard testifies that Sean Diddy Combs hit Cassie Ventura with a skillet full of eggs.
You got to go back to the drugs and the alcohol, man. The drugs and the alcohol, man. And those things will make you do strange things.
What does it take to leave a courtroom in total shock? Richard's account of what Cassie allegedly went through with Diddy stunned everyone into silence. The details he shared uncovered a disturbing reality no one saw coming.
Diddy's ex wrapped up her testimony today after 4 grueling days on the stand. The defense hit her hard during cross-examination, asking her about a stint in rehab for PTSD, a rape allegation, and asking her to read explicit text messages from over the past 15 years.
Richard accused Combs of sexual harassment, gender discrimination, and a hostile work environment by being exposed to sex trafficking and sex acts. She also alleged that she was a victim of false imprisonment. In her suit, Richard stated she was seeking compensatory and punitive damages, as well as other costs for post-traumatic stress, anxiety, and emotional suffering, and financial losses she suffered as a result of Combs' alleged behavior. Combs has denied her allegations. His lawyer told E! News in September, Mr. Combs is shocked and disappointed by this lawsuit. Richard's testimony in Combs' ongoing trial comes 8 months after she accused the rapper in a lawsuit of subjecting her to years of inhumane working conditions, which included groping, assault, and false imprisonment. The lawsuit, filed in September, obtained by E! News, stated, Mr. Combs frequently held meetings with Ms. Richard wearing only his underwear, despite Ms. Richard's protests and repeated requests for him to put on clothing. In her filing, the 41-year-old also alleged that Combs ordered her to strip down to her underwear, made demeaning remarks about her body, and entered her dressing room unannounced while she was unclothed, and touched her without her permission under the guise of showing the stylist what to do.
Once a member of Danity Kane, the girl group created by Diddy, Dawn wasn't just another music industry colleague. She had a front row seat to Diddy's world, and her close ties to both Diddy and Cassie made her one of the most important witnesses in the trial's first week. People expected her to share a few behind-the-scenes stories, but no one was ready for what she revealed. The courtroom was left silent. Dawn's relationship with Diddy was more than just professional. She worked alongside him regularly, which meant she saw how he treated the people around him, including Cassie, his longtime girlfriend. While their relationship may have looked glamorous from the outside, Dawn gave a completely different picture, one that was darker, more troubling, and deeply personal. She spoke openly about moments where she allegedly saw Diddy explode in anger, creating an atmosphere where everyone walked on eggshells. According to her, Cassie was often the target of these outbursts, and Dawn wasn't sharing secondhand gossip. She said she witnessed these moments herself. One incident in particular shocked the courtroom. Dawn described a heated argument where Diddy allegedly screamed at Cassie with such intensity that her physical reaction revealed just how emotionally drained she was. It wasn't just about yelling, it was about control. Dawn said Diddy's tone and behavior made it nearly impossible for Cassie to speak up or defend herself. It was a chilling account of emotional abuse and manipulation. This moment stuck with Dawn, and she made it clear that it was just one of several where Cassie seemed to be living under Diddy's control. The impact of Dawn's words didn't just come from what she said, it was how she said it. Her voice carried a mix of frustration and sadness, as if she had been holding this in for years. Legal experts said her firsthand testimony could play a major role in the case. Hearing general accusations is one thing, but having someone on the stand who says, "I saw this happen," makes a much stronger impact, and Diddy's reaction didn't go unnoticed. Reporters in the room said he looked tense and uncomfortable as she spoke. He didn't interrupt, but his body language, shifting in his seat, whispering to his lawyers, told its own story. But the moment that really stayed with the jury and those watching was when Dawn said she believed Cassie had spent most of her time just trying to survive. Those 5 words summed up years of alleged emotional and physical abuse, and you could feel the weight of them in the room. This wasn't just another testimony, it was a turning point. Dawn's words added serious depth to Cassie's claims, and could shift how the jury sees Diddy as the case moves forward. And this is just the beginning. More witnesses are expected to take the stand in the coming days, people who knew both Diddy and Cassie. But one thing is already clear, Dawn's testimony changed everything. She gave voice to a story that had long been kept in the shadows, and now the courtroom and the public is paying close attention. The courtroom—
if she witnessed, and she's saying that she witnessed a gangbang, which actually we know it as called a train. And she worked on the album, The Train to Paris. And like I heard one of the YouTube, it could be Tistel, say that we didn't know what the train to Paris meant. But now we know that the train to Paris was a train in Scotland. It wasn't a train in Paris. It was a train in Scotland. Only time I ever witnessed doing something is when 2 guys and 2 girls would go in the room. And that was just regular. And however they did it, whatever they did, that was their business. But he gotten bold enough, whereas that he would do that in front of Dawn and other people at a poolside in Scotland. You sure it was Scotland, man?
Vanity Kane alum Don Richard, who began working with Sean Diddy Combs while competing on his show Making the Band in 2004, took the stand after Cassie wrapped her testimony May 16th. Richard joined Combs' group Diddy Dirty Money after Danity Kane disbanded. While on the stand, she told jurors that she saw Combs hit Ventura with a skillet full of eggs at his Los Angeles home in 2009. Richard testified per NBC News. He came downstairs asking where his phone was, and he threw her to the ground. He attempted to kick her. She fell to the ground and went into the fetal position, literally trying to hide her head. In addition to striking Ventura with the skillet, Richard said Combs put his arm around the singer's neck and took her upstairs before she heard glass breaking. Richard added, "I was scared for her. I was scared to do anything."
The courtroom was already tense, but things took a dramatic turn when a new piece of evidence was played, an audio recording of Cassie. On the tape, she's reportedly heard threatening a close associate of Diddy, someone who allegedly had video proof of a heated altercation. The moment the audio started, the room shifted. Even the jurors looked stunned. So what exactly was on the tape that made it such a game changer? This wasn't just any recording. It pulled back the curtain on the chaotic and emotionally charged relationship between Cassie and Diddy. Her voice on the tape was full of raw emotion, anger, fear, frustration, all rolled into one. Legal insiders said it sounded like someone who had reached her limit after years of emotional stress and conflict. The threats she made didn't come across as calculated. They felt like a desperate cry from someone who felt trapped and pushed too far. Here's what we know. The man Cassie was speaking to is believed to be a longtime Diddy insider. He allegedly held video evidence of a violent fight between the two. On the tape, Cassie sounds torn between fury and resolve as she demands answers and makes threats, clearly trying to protect herself. The audio revealed just how deep the damage in their relationship went. It wasn't just between Cassie and Diddy anymore. It had started to pull in others around them too. So why would Cassie lash out like this? Experts say this kind of outburst isn't rare in abusive relationships. Years of being manipulated, isolated, and emotionally worn down can lead to intense, even extreme reactions. One legal analyst noted that this tape added new depth to the case. It didn't just support the idea that their relationship was unhealthy, it showed that Cassie may have been living in a constant state of fear and survival mode. This wasn't a case of someone losing their temper over one incident. It was the emotional toll of a relationship that had reportedly left her feeling powerless for years. And in her voice, you could hear that struggle. It wasn't about revenge, it was about trying to survive. For the jury, the tape raised tough questions. It made the allegations against Diddy seem more serious, but it also asked them to consider what Cassie had been going through emotionally. While the audio alone might not be enough to prove everything, when combined with other evidence, like testimony from Don Richard, it painted a clearer picture of the toxic cycle Cassie may have been caught in. Still, the defense isn't backing down. Diddy's legal team is expected to argue that Cassie's emotional outburst damages her credibility. They'll likely use this moment to cast her as unstable and unreliable, a common defense tactic in high-profile cases like this. And it won't stop there. Rumors suggest they'll bring up Cassie's past, including her mental health and personal history, to further undermine her claims. But here's the bigger picture. This tape isn't just about one argument or threat. It reveals the deeper power imbalance in their relationship. For years, Diddy has been seen as a dominant force in the music world, while Cassie has often been viewed as quiet or submissive. This tape breaks that narrative. It shows a woman fighting to regain control in a situation where she may have had very little. As the trial continues, one big question remains. Will more evidence like this come to light? And will the defense continue to push back by attacking Cassie's character? One thing is certain. The jury is no longer just hearing a legal case. They're witnessing the unraveling of a painful and complicated story, one that could change everything as it unfolds.
Those are things that she's going to have to bring up into the lawsuit, that Diddy stopped the way that she was working and how she could work by the fact that he would change. Like you just said, what she would do, bro, he would turn off her mic and don't let her sing songs or don't let her do certain things, a part of the band. when he didn't do her sexual advancements. I don't know what to say about that, brother. All I can say is that, you know, all of it sounds like using his power. He's using his power to get at people that works for him. And when you do that, when they bring you to court, 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose if they can prove it.
One text message, Cassie writes, "I'm lost without you."
We know now that she called herself Cece for Cassie Combs. We know now that she wanted to have a child with him.
Jurors also heard an audio recording where Cassie could be heard threatening to kill a Diddy associate who had video of one of her freak-offs with Diddy.
The jurors were shocked. I saw the eyebrows raised.
Cassie was asked about receiving a FaceTime from her now husband while she was having sex with Diddy.
I think they're trying to use what they can, again, to discredit her as a...
The defense team's attempt to weaponize Cassie's past may have seemed calculated, but it ultimately opened a door they couldn't shut. By dragging her time in rehab into the courtroom, referencing her struggle with PTSD, and resurfacing a past rape allegation, they aimed to dismantle her credibility. The strategy? Frame Cassie as emotionally unstable, unreliable, someone whose testimony couldn't be trusted, but it backfired. Instead of undermining her, it humanized her. What the defense painted as weaknesses, the jury began to see as scars, evidence of deep trauma and a life shaped by manipulation. Legal analysts watching the case unfold noted that the defense's tactic inadvertently highlighted Cassie's vulnerability, exactly the kind of vulnerability someone like Diddy could exploit. Of the most talked about moments, the introduction of intimate text messages between Cassie and Diddy. In one she wrote, "I'm lost without you." The defense clung to that line like a lifeline, using it to argue that their relationship, even with the introduction of Stormy, was consensual, mutual even. But the subtext told another story. Experts were quick to point out, trauma survivors often form emotional attachments to their abusers. It's not a reflection of consent, it's a symptom of manipulation, of power, of control. The defense's argument took another swing, claiming Cassie's emotional state made her testimony unreliable. But this wasn't just an attack on her version of events. It was an assault on her entire character. It's a textbook move in high-profile abuse trials. Spotlight inconsistencies, exploit personal struggles, and inject just enough doubt to muddy the waters. Only this time, it didn't work. Instead of poking holes in her story, they deepened it. The jury wasn't just hearing about an unstable woman. They were seeing a portrait of someone who'd endured years of coercion, control, and emotional warfare. Every reference to Cassie's past, rehab, PTSD, trauma, began to read not as disqualifying, but as evidence. Evidence of what happens when someone is emotionally imprisoned in a toxic, powerful relationship. And then came the unintended consequence: empathy. Viewers and court observers alike noted that the defense had effectively reframed Cassie's mental health struggles as consequences. Consequences of surviving Diddy. They didn't discredit her. They exposed just how much she had to survive. This shift in the courtroom dynamic is already shaping the jury's perspective. This case is no longer about a few questionable text messages or isolated incidents. It's about patterns of behavior, control, manipulation, and emotional decay. And with more witnesses set to take the stand, including former Diddy Kane members and insiders from Diddy's inner circle, the story is only gaining momentum. Whether the defense realizes it or not, their attempts to discredit Cassie may have done the opposite. They didn't poke holes in her story. They handed her the brush to paint a deeper, darker portrait, one that's beginning to look a lot like...
Unfortunately, we're all going to take a disgusting trip to his seedy, awful world. You know, it's the man has no class. He has no kindness in his dark, dark heart. And he's depraved. That's my opinion. This is a depraved, disgusting individual.
The facts are the facts, the texts are the texts, and I think that the evidence will be clear.
That Ventura had a choice and that she chose to participate in those sexual encounters.
Where she is entertaining other people in the bedroom. He enjoyed having the freak-offs.
She's being asked specifically about the drug use.
She is clearly excited about freak.
Aubrey O'Day is the latest name making headlines in this already intense trial. As a former member of Diddy Kane, she's stepping up to share her experience working under Diddy's management. People want to know, what did she see? What does she have to say? Aubrey is about to take the stand, and she's not alone. Several of Diddy's former employees, some who were close to his inner circle, are also ready to testify. Each witness this adds a new piece to a story that's getting harder to ignore. The importance of having multiple witnesses can't be overstated. Don Richards' testimony shook the courtroom, offering a powerful look at Cassie's claims of abuse. His words made the jury rethink Diddy's carefully crafted public image. Now, with Aubrey expected to speak, the allegations of control and toxic behavior might become even clearer. Aubrey's perspective is unique. She worked closely with Diddy during Danity Kane's prime and likely saw what really happened behind the scenes. This trial isn't just about isolated events. It's about a possible pattern of behavior. Aubrey's testimony is especially important because she's long been open about the challenges of working with Diddy, though she hasn't accused him of abuse before. She's spoken out about his tough and demanding style. If she backs up what Cassie and Don have said, it could show a consistent pattern that stretches over years. That's exactly why experts say multiple witnesses matter so much. When several people tell similar stories, it becomes harder to dismiss them. Don's testimony, for instance, described Cassie being subjected to Diddy's harsh outbursts and control, leaving her visibly shaken. Those details alone made a big impact. Now, with Aubrey adding her voice, the jury can start to see these accounts as parts of a bigger picture. Once a pattern is clear, it's tough to argue these were just one-off incidents or misunderstandings. What makes this trial even more striking is the involvement of former employees. These aren't just people on the outside, they handle Diddy's day-to-day business. Their testimonies could fill in gaps and shed light on what went on behind closed doors. Did they see the alleged abuse? Were they asked to cover things up? Their words will be important depending on what details they share, but their willingness to speak raises serious questions. The more witnesses come forward, the stronger the case becomes. When different people from personal and professional backgrounds tell similar stories, it puts a lot of pressure on the defense to challenge each account. That gets harder as more voices add to the narrative. So what might Aubrey reveal? That's the big question. Some think she'll talk about a professional environment that mirrored the personal control Cassie described, showing that Diddy's behavior wasn't limited to his private relationships, but extended to work life too. If true, it would support the prosecution's portrayal of Diddy as someone who used control and intimidation regularly. With so many witnesses lined up, the trial has taken on new urgency. It's no longer just one person's word against another's. It's a growing, powerful story made up of many voices. That puts huge pressure on Diddy, who's already faced intense scrutiny in the trial's first week. And with every new testimony, the question remains, what will they say and how will it change things? The first week was intense. Diddy tried to keep calm and strong, the image the public knows well. But as the trial went on, cracks appeared. The courtroom was tense, especially during Cassie's testimony about control and abuse. Paired with Don Richards' emotional account, it became hard to ignore the accusations. Diddy started off stoic, but grew visibly uncomfortable as the evidence and testimony piled up. People noticed him shifting nervously, clenching his jaw as Cassie's words painted a tough picture of a man once seen as untouchable. During the defense's questioning, targeting Cassie's past struggles, he seemed more confident, whispering with his lawyers. But when explicit text and audio clips came up, his calm cracked again. His eyes narrowed, his body stiffened. The evidence clearly hit home. The jury's reactions, like raised eyebrows during audio playback, changed the mood in the room. This wasn't just about public opinion anymore. Real people were weighing serious claims. In cases like this, famous figures often rely on their public image to sway opinion, but Diddy's usual control seemed to slip. High-pressure moments like these can expose even the most practiced celebrities. What really shocked the courtroom was Diddy's reaction after Don Richards' damning testimony. Witnesses say his face darkened, his body language became defensive, and he whispered sharply to his team. For someone known for power and confidence, this loss of control stood out and caught the jury's attention more than any evidence. But this trial is bigger than the courtroom drama. It's affecting how the public sees Diddy's legacy. Celebrated as a music mogul and charismatic leader, he now faces serious questions about his character. Each sign of frustration or discomfort chips away at the powerful image he's built. What makes the trial unpredictable is what's still coming. More witnesses, including Aubrey and former staff. The pressure on Diddy will only grow. How many more stories will back up Cassie and Don? Diddy's reactions show he understands what's at stake, not just legally, but for his whole career. The next weeks will likely get even more emotional and intense. Can Diddy keep his cool as more damaging evidence surfaces? Will his responses weaken his carefully crafted image, or will he find a way to stay in control? This trial isn't just a celebrity scandal, it's a reminder of how abuse can hide behind fame and power. Testimonies like Don Richards reveal emotional and psychological manipulation that often goes unnoticed. Cassie's bravery, even under tough cross-examination, shows how hard it is for victims to come forward. This case shines a light on the hidden dynamics of control and abuse. It's important to stay informed, support those who speak out, and keep these stories alive. The next chapter of this trial could change everything we thought we knew. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.